We come together each week to celebrate Eucharist, and in these difficult and trying times, I find it very comforting and consoling to gather each weekend, because I leave a week in which you're bombarded with so many conflicting messages, so much conflicting news and news spins, etc., etc. But when we gather here, we come to hear God's word. We believe that it is God's word, that we have to somehow respond to it, and hopefully with a peaceful and understanding, acknowledging that we are God's children and that He loves us and that His words are always instructive to us, that we can be open to whatever it is He's inviting us to do. In the passage I just read from Matthew, John the Baptist raised the question, especially to the Sadducees and Pharisees, what kind of fruit are they producing? And each of us can ask that same question. If I were to gather my friends and family and those closest to me around me, what would they tell me is the good fruit that I'm producing, and what would they say about me that they would interpret as bad fruit? Vincent, if you didn't do this, you'd be such a better person, you'd be such a better priest. And it's not comfortable to ask ourselves those questions. And so, in the second reading of today's Mass, Paul has something that I think is instructive for us. He says, "Whatever was written previously was written for our instruction, that by endurance and by encouragement of the Scriptures we might have hope." And I think that's very applicable to the first reading of today's Mass. It's one of the most beautiful passages from the prophet Isaiah, coming from probably the 7th century before Christ. And it has such a beautiful vision of God's plan for humanity. And as we reflect on it, I think we can all agree we're very far from realizing it. And that Jesus, in his teaching and in his ministry, he personified what's in this passage. And he called his church into existence so that we would continue to personify in every generation this message of God, which is a message of peace and justice. So, referring to the coming of Christ, Isaiah wrote, "On that day a shoot shall sprout from the stump of David, and from his roots a bud shall blossom." Or Christians interpret that the shoot is Jesus. What blossoms from Jesus is the church he established. The Spirit of the Lord will rest upon him, a spirit of wisdom and understanding. And Lord knows we need wisdom and understanding in this day and age. We really do. A spirit of counsel and of strength, a spirit of knowledge and of fear of the Lord. Not by appearance shall he judge. That's great advice. Because I know I'm too good at judging by appearances. Judging by appearances is the root of all prejudice, because we judge somebody's appearance as less than what we think it should be, and we go downhill from there. But no, we're not to judge by appearances. Not by hearsay shall he decide. I'm not on social media, but from what I hear about social media, there's an awful lot of judging that goes on in social media and gets spread. And what's on social media, I think, would come under what's in here as hearsay. So how much are we guided by hearsay? He shall judge the poor with justice, decide aright for the lands afflicted. He shall strike the ruthless with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. Notice, thus speak words of correction. He's not saying clobber them. He's not saying beat them up. No, he shall strike the ruthless with the rod of his mouth. With the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. Justice shall be the band around his waist, and faithfulness a belt on his hips. And now in the next few verses, we have this beautiful scene, not yet realized in our world, but apparently it's God's wish for the world. The wolf shall be a guest of the lamb. The leopard shall lie down with the kid. The calf and the young lion shall browse together with a little child to guide them. The cow and the bear shall be neighbors. Together their young shall rest. The lion shall eat hay like the ox. The baby shall play by the cobra's den, and the child lay his hand on the adder's lair. There shall be no harm or ruin on all my holy mountain, for the earth will be filled with the knowledge of the Lord. So as each of us looks at our own lives on a day-to-day basis, how much of that is guided by the Lord, and how much is guided by my selfishness or my greed? How much do I buy into various prejudices that are so rampant in our world today? And do I try to evaluate whatever is coming at me, whether it be in social media or from whatever source, do I try to evaluate it against the backdrop of this Word of God? On that day, the root of Jesse, set up as a signal for the nations, the Gentiles shall seek out, for his dwelling shall be glorious. We, as the members of the church, have been called to be a signal to the nations. As Jesus was during his ministry, his church is called to be today. And we know the church, whether it be here at St. Michael's, or I come from Vacaville, in Vacaville, or wherever, the church is made up of people like us, and none of us are perfect. But God doesn't throw us out. He has called us together this morning to say to us that he loves us, that he needs us. And in this Advent season, he's asking us in a special way to put on the attitude of Christ. Paul, in another letter, wrote, "Let that mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus." I noticed on my way in here all those gifts that you have brought in that will be distributed to needy families or needy children in Sacramento. A wonderful expression of generosity and kindness and consideration. But is there some way that that kind of hospitality, that kind of concern for others become not just something that happens around Christmas time, but be more and more part of our daily life? If I was to pick one word to describe the attitude that God wants in all of us, he wants us to be as hospitable to each other as he is to us. So we confidently asked for his forgiveness as we began our Mass, and he will give himself to us in Holy Communion because we're perfect? No. Because he loves us and he wants to strengthen us. So confident of who we are, brothers and sisters of Jesus, sharing his Spirit, let us celebrate our Mass with a spirit of joy and confidence that what we are trying to do is God's work, and that he will be with us in our successes and in our failures, and he will take care of us.